that's working so hard day after day after day. We're here to offer a Q&A and discussion about detox things that you can do for yourself, both daily, weekly, and annually. And I want to open it up for questions because detoxification has a huge spectrum. It covers everything from colonics to basically just drinking more water, to fasting, to milk thistle supplements. So there's a huge spectrum of products and procedures and old things and new things. And so I want to be able to help you discern what could be beneficial and helpful. So Alex is going to prompt that by having you guys go on a little poll right now and just let us know what kind of things you're doing or you're interested in that poll. And then please feel free to ask any questions through the chat. Alex is running the tech side of the evening, so he can take in your chat. You don't have to be spotlighted, and then I'll do my best to answer the question for you.
Yeah, just to reiterate that while you're taking the poll, feel free to interject whenever. The more engaging this is, the better. So as much conversation is the best. And
the more fun for me.
Yeah, because then Kirk's not just lecturing to a screen, right?
Right.
We really want this to be community as well as education.
Yes.
If at any point you can't interject, don't feel comfortable interjecting, that's where I come in. Just use the chat. You can do it anonymously if you just do it straight to me, or you can chat the entire group. And then I'll get your question asked when appropriate, or I'll just cut Kirk off and ask your question.
So while you're doing that poll, I'm going to ask my own question of you. Why do we need to detox? Why do we need to support our body's own pre-capable systems, many systems, of eliminating things out of the body that don't serve us? Why do we need to support that? Anyone have an idea?
Well, look at the world we live in and everything that's sort of at us, whether it's in the air, whether it's the environment we're working in, the things that we're putting in our body that maybe we, shouldn't be. We want to bump it up.
You're right, Wendy. At this point in our humanity, we're taking in more chemistry than humans have ever had to, basically, coupled with the fact that we're not supporting the eliminatory system by the amount of sitting we're doing. It's easy to help things flush out of the body when we're squeezing our muscles and moving things through the lymph drainage system, and we're moving and twisting so much that we're getting frequent bowel movements, and we're working hard enough with our bodies that we're sweating and supporting the body's own eliminatory system through breath, sweat, feces, and urine, getting out the things that are coming in either through inhalation, ingestion, or absorption. 3 ways into the body, 4 ways out. And if we were living in a pristine environment as a farmer in the Midwest, working with a plow behind a horse and having to scythe things all day for 12 hours, no problem. But now we're sitting, we're not moving, we're not circulating, we're not getting enough bowel movements, we're not drinking enough water, we have too many diuretics, and everything is slowing down and getting sluggish, and so it builds up. And the buildup of either molecular compounds that we're ingesting through the food industry, or that we're inhaling from off gas from our home products, or we're absorbing through cosmetics or lotions or hand cleaning products like the alcohol that we're all constantly wiping our hands with right now. All of that's going into the body. It has to be filtered by the liver and the kidneys. And if we can't get what's filtered out fast enough, it's redirected and stored into the visceral fat cells. It's proven now that as another contributor to increasing the size of our fat cells in the visceral cavity is the increase of toxic load. The color change to the fat in the visceral part of our body is the load of toxins. So if the liver filters out something like cadmium from secondhand smoke, and we don't have enough bowel movements for it to get out of the body after the liver dumps it into the intestinal tract, the body reabsorbs it through the intestinal tract again, the second time through the liver sends it to the fat cell. And there it's held kind of inert in the fatty acids. So that heavy metal doesn't injure our brain or our pancreas or our eyeballs or our nervous system or disrupt our hormonal balance or cause our immune system to go off or create allergies. So we
Got some
have
great
to
results here.
invoke more detoxification support to support those organs. What do you got up there now? Everyone's eating well and drinking lots of water and exercising and getting those 10,000 steps for circulation. Sauna and steam's a little bit tougher with COVID. Massage, don't just think of it as a pampering thing. I can't tell you how beneficial it is for your body. Fasting might be something you're wanting more information about. So it looks like a lot of you are doing a few things, and let's talk about some other ideas that you might not be thinking about. If you read Alex's Healthy Bite, you probably got a list that you could think about. I want you to remember that you need to know the why for any of the things that we talk about on any of our health talks. If you don't understand why we're purporting something, it's just another to do and you're not going to do it. It's just another should, and shoulds never last. So understanding why, for example, we need to go outdoors more often and breathe deeply. If you can, on the weekend, get out of town and go to a park for a hike. Not only is it that good for stress reduction, but you're going to be breathing highly oxygenated air and less polluted air. And as you're exercising in that air, you're going to be turning over chemistry through your lungs. The breath is one of the ways out of the body. So by going out into nature, at least on your weekends when you can, is a great way to help the eliminatory system release. Another one might be, how do I support getting more active bowel movements? Because we're designed to get 3 a day. If we're eating 3 meals a day, we're supposed to be getting a bowel movement within about 20 minutes after finishing that meal. That's the way the peristaltic contractions are designed for the 22 feet of plumbing, to keep moving what we ate 24 hours ago out as we do the biological absorption of all those nutrients with the food we just ate. Now, if we're not getting enough fiber from the plant kingdom, we're not getting about enough soft soluble fiber from the bran around the grains we're eating, or the more rigid fiber from the skin of an apple, we're not only not feeding the gut flora what they need to keep moving things along, but we're not also kind of like building a net to help kind of pull stuff through. So our bowel movements aren't as full and aren't as cleansing as they could be. So we need bacteria, probiotics. We need prebiotics, which is food that they can eat, full of fiber, like all the cruciferous family, all of the nuts and seeds, any of the vegetable kingdom, basically. Cabbage is really good. And then you can throw in things like kimchi, and you can throw in things like sauerkraut into your diet, where you're adding more bacteria than the maximum 8 that we ever get from a probiotics pill. It's always better to get your probiotics from real food and when you need to supplement it from a pill. Okay. And then we also need the water. So the water has to go into the intestinal tract as well to help with all that fiber and help the bacteria do their job and help keep things moving along. And then we need to move. We need to twist, turn, bend, lift, so that all of that internal organs of ours get massaged by the movement that we do, so that we help everything to move along, so that we can go from one bowel movement every couple of days to at least one a day. One a day will at least help get the stuff that the liver's filtering, the fat soluble chemistry, out, so that we don't turn it into basically fat storage. Chelators. Chelators are types of food that kind of wrap around substances, molecular substances, elemental substances from the periodic chart from grade 10 science, things like mercury, lead, arsenic, barium, cadmium, thallium, selenium, all of these heavy metals that our body can only take in super tiny amounts. Even the amount of copper and lead we're only supposed to, or copper and iron we're only supposed to have in very, very distinct small amounts. And when we have more of those minerals than our body wants, we need chelation substances, certain plant things that'll wrap around that molecule or that mineral and help it get through the digestive system and out and not reabsorbed into the bloodstream. So those things are like cilantro, certain seaweeds, miso from the fermentation of soybeans is a great one too. Spirulina and chlorella, are algaes that are dried, and you can add them to your smoothie, and they'll do the same thing. They'll work as chelators. So those are dietary chelators that we can throw into our food, into our smoothies, into our salads, into our soups, and they will help grab heavy metals, pesticides, and things like that and pull them out. Of course, besides doing yoga and things that twist and turn and help us massage, we also need those 10,000 steps a day, because it's that movement that we need to help pump the waste products through the venous return, through the heart, and then through the filtering organs and out of the body. So all of our blue blood, the veins, and all of our lymphatic drainage only are squeezed through muscle contraction. So if we're sitting all day long, even if we go to a workout class 1 hour a day, it's not enough. We need those 10,000 steps just to keep everything moving. And so we got to do it, or else the load gets too much. One of the biggest things that we need to consider is how can we minimize, eliminate, or avoid certain things. So the more organic we eat, the less pesticides we're going to eat. The more wild and grass-fed, the less injected antibiotics or growth hormones in the meat that we're eating. The less plastic we use, the less plastic we're going to have in our cells. The less petrochemical products we use, the more plant-based, the less chemistry that our body has to filter out. So being conscious when we're shopping and thinking about even the cleaning products we use for our bathtub. Do I buy something that I can't even read 15 of the chemicals on? Or do I go back to what my grandmother used to use, which is baking soda and some vinegar? Do we go back to some of the more simple traditional products so that we have less chemistry that we manage? I would say yes. Do what you can to eliminate as much chemistry as possible, especially things from the petrochemical world and the plastic world. It's just reducing the load that our liver and kidneys have to manage. Any questions so far?
No questions so far, Kirk, but reiterating that it seems like fasting annually, and I mistyped it, but just below that, the option was intermittent fasting.
Sure.
Those seem quite popular for tonight, and organic eating is up there, and I think they all kind of tie together. Organic eating, putting in, and fasting, having a dearth of putting things in.
I think you recommended on 2 Healthy Bites ago the movie that you and I watched called Kiss the Ground, right?
Yeah, right.
I highly recommend that again for people to get a deeper understanding of why we need to support organic farming with our dollar. We all know it costs more, but in a way, we're reclaiming the same biological ecosystem that we need to maintain for healthy digestion in the land itself. So that if we can keep nature's natural way of not only carbon sinking, but also providing all of the breakdown materials that provide the copper and the zinc and all of the minerals that those plants need to draw out of the ground, that goes into the leafy greens that then we eat so that we can absorb. We need a biome to do that. It cannot be done by petrochemical fertilizers. We know this now. We know we need to allow nature to do that refining and absorption process and creation process. And it's going to require a different way of farming. And organic farming, permacultural farming, they're moving in that direction for us. And we get more benefit out of that. And it's worth the cost where you can to pay for those. You know, instead of only putting 10% of your money into what you eat and the rest into other things, you might need to consider reducing how we expend our money in other areas. Like, seriously, I'm putting a third of my money into food. It's worth it because I want to be vital. And so that's worth more than spending that money on other things for me. So please consider some of that. There's always the dirty dozen and the certain vegetables that you can eat without it being organic. But there's also the ethos that if we support organic farming, we're actually supporting a carbon sink. We're actually contributing to changing climate change. So it's also where we spend our dollar has an effect for our great-grandchildren. So there's a double edge there too. Now, fasting is super interesting. It's been going on since all of humankind, primarily because we didn't have the abundance we have now. In the past, people starved through famine till very recently. Actually, the World Health Organization said 2 years ago, it was the first year in all of human history that more people died from abundance of food than lack of food. More people died from obesity-related illnesses than from famine-related illnesses in all of human time. We are programmed for survival to go into famine. All animals, hibernation, migration, we all have had periods for survival where we would go through where we're really, really into scarcity and we go without for periods of time, and the body's learned how to cope with it. In fact, it's learned how to cope with it so well that we go through a renewal period. When we go into a famine, when it used to be forced before refrigeration, we would devour all of the fat in the inside of our body, just like a deer will this winter or a bear in hibernation. All that energy in the fat will be consumed to keep us alive. And then once we've broken through our fat, we will start to break down muscle even, and turn fat and muscle into ketones to run the brain because of the lack of the glucose available when we're in a famine. When we go into that state, the body does something cellularly. It starts to release stem cell production, even in our 60s. So stem cell production is, of course, really high. That's the production of new cells when we're young, up to the age of 28. But when we go into a famine or a fast, the body will do the exact same thing again. Same thing will also happen in an intense physical situation, like an ultra marathon or a running for your life, of an intense physical or an intense lack of caloric intake causes the body to have the stem cells start to regenerate and the immune system boosted. Immediately after a famine or a fast, people were healthier. And then they go back into rebuilding all the muscle they lost. A liver will shrink just through 30 days without food. It'll almost shrink a third of its size And so will your pecs and your quads and your kidneys. Everything shrinks. It's all getting turned into fuel to keep the brain alive. And then once we get through that famine or that without or that fast, basically everything grows back, and it grows back more vitally. And this is where some of the health benefits come in around fasting. We, one, give ourselves a complete break from incoming stuff, both fuel and toxic load, even just sugar, a break from alcohol, sugar, caffeine, all of bread, all of the things that are in our natural way of eating now. And then that gives all the organs a break, gives them a rest. In an intermittent fast on a daily level, we can do this for 12 hours if we can take a break between the dinner and the breakfast. If we can avoid snacking in the evening between dinner and breakfast and try to push that time to about 12 hours, we create a function called autophagy, where cellularly everything is recycled, everything is reconstituted, and there's no glucose coming in to make the cell go into energy management. And without that energy management function, the cell cleans up and it rests and inflammation goes down. This is critical for biological detoxification. Autophagy is a natural cycle on a daily level that we want. It lowers inflammation and it makes every cell age better. Then if we go to a longer fast, whether it's a water fast, a juice fast, you'd want to do it supervised, ideally, because each of us is on a different journey with our body. We're in different ages, different metabolisms, different medications, different hormonal balance. And so ideally you want to work with your doctor and potentially a naturopathic doctor that your doctor knows, or you might go to an integrated health clinic or functional medicine clinic where different modalities work together as a team, and you get the support to choose the fast or the cleanse that's right for you, so you don't get contraindications, you don't mess up your hormones, or you don't mess up your medications. And then you'll do it just long enough to give those organs a break, and you'll do it so that in a deeper sense the body regenerates itself. Those stem cells get triggered into new production, more white blood cells are produced, the immune system goes up. And these kinds of fasts are being used a lot right now for cancer. They're being used in conjunction with cancer treatments. And the rate of success for people who are even on chemotherapy, before, during, and after chemotherapy, and doing a complete restriction for the digestive and eliminatory system, cancer successes are way higher, because the body's jumping in a survival critical situation to regenerate itself and regenerate the immune function. And people have been doing it for eons. We had to do it when we went into famine, and the religions of the world incorporated it. Lent, Yom Kippur, Ramadan, these were all instituted culturally to help keep people alive, to reinitiate everybody in the spring, to be reactivated so they could go back out and farm. Because after going through a tough winter and famine or semi-famine and poor quality food, people came out skin and bones and sick. And then they would fast, clean their organs of filtering organs, and then the body would reinvent itself in a way with the food that started coming in the spring. Any questions about that?
Yeah, Kirk. So recommending the use of an MD or a naturopath clearly indicates that it's a very specific process. Like you said, everyone's individual. So it indicates to me there's a right way to do it.
Yeah.
And that's individual. Are there some universal underlying principles to a fast in terms of how to do it? And then I'm also really curious about what are some of the underlying principles of how to do it incorrectly? Like, what are some things that are how to fast wrong?
Some people might fast too long. I mean, truthfully, the body can go 60 days without a single calorie, without a single grain of rice. We're designed to live through that. People do hunger strikes for that long in jail.
And they're intaking water though, right?
Just water. But that's an eliminatory fast it's very extreme. And that's why things like juice fasting has become more culturally popular, you could say, coming out of California over the last 30, 40 years, because it's not as extreme as just a water fast, or maybe just a water, lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and maple syrup fast. That's called the master cleanse. A juice fast is basically taking the digestive difficulties. It's still giving the digestive system a break because there's really very little fiber. There's no proteins to digest. There's no fats to digest. We've eliminated things like sugar, alcohol, caffeine, gluten, all the sour, food sensitivities are taken out, and it's just basically vegetable fast. And so that's used quite a bit to help people that are struggling through different illnesses, where they just really want to give the eliminatory and digestive system a break. But even just once a year, taking 1 or 2 days without any food and just making sure you're hydrated, it resets not only our body, but it can reset our mind and our relationship to food. Taking just a break from the sugar and the processed food and everything for 1 or 2 days is a great way to change our palate, because with our current food production, we have salt, carb, and fat woven just about into everything that we eat. And those 3 substances create a dopamine release when we have them, because we needed them for survival. But the food industry knows that, and they have lined those 3 substances in various forms around just about everything that you buy at a grocery store, anything that's canned or wrapped. Unless you're buying just straight vegetables, it's going to have carb, fat, and salt on some level into it. And it's hard to break the palate and the dopamine addiction to those foods. And that's where a fast can be an initiator to changing that addictive pattern to food substances, to then start moving into more whole foods, to start eating more vegetables, more whole grains, more legumes, more foods that are going to serve us better and help our brain think better and give us the best fuel and the best nutrification cellularly all around. So a fast is a good break for organs, good break for the mind, dopamine diet addictions that we have. And it also was used in the religions of the past as a way to clear the mind. When we take a break from something like that, in a way, we're taking a break from our constantly connected habits that we have. And when we take a break from those habits, we can start to have our mind refocus and ask ourselves through contemplation questions about how we are normally living, and if we feel like we're on the right path or we want to make an adjustment. All of that was part of the religious fasting. And it can be still utilized today, just as a break, a way to notice, a way to contemplate, ask ourselves with curiosity, do I need to eat this much sugar? Or do I need to drink alcohol 6 days a week? Or whatever it is that we're doing, where we might want to ask ourselves if we want to make an adjustment.
Hey, Kirk, so great question coming in from one of our alum. Our nutrition program at the retreat is engineered and highly efficient. And we build in intermittent fasting from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Maybe quickly, you could give a quick overview of that nutrition program. But the question is, would you recommend an annual fast on top of that?
The Mountain Trek program, as much as what we eat is important, it's when we eat. So everyone who's been to the program knows we feed everybody about every 3-ish hours, 6 meals a day. And that's primarily to make sure that this works. We're on a we've taken all processed food out, we've taken all sugar out, we've taken all inflammatory foods out. So it's just as clean from the vegetable kingdom as possible, as clean of protein as possible, healthy oils, all the essentials that we need as building blocks, but we're having those foods come in regularly enough to keep the brain working. And I do want to just mention in terms of fasting that being supervised, or at least having a friend do it along with you, helps when your mind is going to have to switch from running on glucose to running on ketones if you're going to fast for more than a day. And so you can get spaced out, you can get grumpy, you can get you can have emotional things bubbling up. And so having that supervised fast, if it's for longer than a day, or at least a friend to do it with, to share when you might be feeling spaced out, you want to kind of minimize what you're doing. You could never run our mountain trek program during a fast. The most you'd want to do during a fast would be a bit of gentle yoga, because you're not getting enough energy coming into the body to support that kind of output. So fasts are usually done traditionally. People are very quiet, they might meditate, they rest more, they might do some introspection and journaling and some yoga, but that's about it. Even on juice fasts that are supervised at health retreats all over North America. You would never be hiking 4 hours a day. Did I answer that question okay for you, Alex? Or did I miss something on it?
No, I think you did. I'm kind of back and forth between the comments here. I think, what I would want to get out of the question is, if you are
a guy that does
daily practice that you
toxins.
consider incredibly efficient, do you need an annual practice on top of that?
It's something to consider, to just give everything a break. Otherwise, it's working. So the 12-hour break is great on a daily level. It's giving all of the internal organs a break from having to digest and then transfer food and send out hormones to move it from here to there. But it's not a very long break for the liver that's working so hard day after day after day. And that's why even just removing on a weekly basis, maybe taking 1 or 2 days where you don't drink alcohol, gives this liver a break for 2 days, because otherwise it's managing toxin removal constantly. So we can give a break on a daily level, we can give a break on a weekly level, and then the fast on an annual level is deeper. No digestion going on, no elimination really, except through the water flush, and everything gets a deeper break. Longer fasts than 1 or 2 days, so you've got to be supervised. And you can do Ayurvedic fast. That's a whole other school of medicine from India, thousands of years old. You can do traditional Chinese medicine, more of a macrobiotic fast, again working with a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, not just an acupuncturist. And you can do a naturopathic type of fast, which has been done in Europe for some 1,000-odd years. So there's different schools of fasting and cleansing. And just check it out with your MD and find which one they might work in concert with a specialist with you.
Hey, Kirk, so our fasting program is very time dependent. It's not 12 hours anytime. It's 12 specific hours from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. What takes precedence when doing a fast on your own? Is it the timing of eating and not eating, or is it the time of day?
Are you talking about an intermittent fast on a kind of daily? Or
yeah, precisely. I'm seeing a lot of comments here about people doing their own fasts, and it looks like a very common one right now is to do a 16-hour fast and an 8-hour eat window, but at any time.
The reason why that Jen and I don't concur with that is because, one, it's set up as a weight loss. It's totally focused on weight loss. Whereas 12 hours is scientifically enough for the autophagy on a cellular level. But if you're going to use skipping meals as a way to have weight loss, it's guaranteed that as soon as you stop that, you'll gain it back. It's a yo-yo. It's a famine mimic. And if you're going to skip breakfast, you're going to miss the metabolism's need to get everything fired up. And that raises the metabolism 15%. We're already lowering the metabolism by sitting 15 plus hours a day between work, commuting, and Netflix. Our metabolisms are the lowest they've ever been in humanity. So why would we then also skip a meal and also bring it down? This was the biggest finding from the Biggest Losers TV show on weight loss. Is everybody went into this deep crisis of high output and low input. It was unrealistic, unsustainable, and everybody's metabolisms crashed. And as soon as they stopped the episode, everybody except maybe less than 4% gained everything back. So intermittent fastings for chunks of time longer than what's needed biologically for us is strictly about weight loss. And personally, we would rather support, if you're trying to get your percentage of body fat down, work on your stress, working on your movement, working on the types of food you eat is more important than missing meals. And it's more sustainable. And it's definitely healthier for your brain and your body. How can we go to work and be on our game with no blood sugar? We can't. The brain runs on 20% of all our blood sugar. So if we skip breakfast and don't eat for 16 hours, you're not going to be as sharp.
The other topic that was expressed a lot of interest in was the sauna, steam, mineral hot spring.
Yeah.
Can we take 5 minutes to touch on that? And then we're probably out of time, and probably wrap that up with what we can all do now when most of our saunas and steam rooms are closed.
Yeah, of course. I mean, in our town, you can use the infrared sauna at the day spas. They just have less scheduled events where you can go because they have to go in and clean between each person more. So I know it's still available. So on a weekly basis, if you can go and do a deeper, what we would call purge, where you're going to sit and you're going to sweat deeply, either in a steam or a dry, Scandinavian style sauna, or an infrared sauna where infrared heat waves go through the skin, the adipose layer of fat to the muscle, the denser cells, and heat from the inside out, you're going to get a purge through your sweat glands. And again, for millennia, cultures all over the world have been doing this, from the Sioux native people of North America and their sweat lodges, and to the onsens in Japan, to the Roman baths, and then the Turkish hammams, to the Russian banyans and the Finns fjord jumping out of the saunas. People have been doing this kind of purging for millennia. It's nothing new. It's no fad. It's real. And doing the sauna, steam, or mineral baths work because the density of minerals supported in the liquid that you're sitting in is higher than what your body is. It pulls stuff out through the skin in a process called osmosis. So if you're going to one that has sulfur or sodium bicarbonate or lithium or different minerals in it, it'll be higher than what you have in your skin and your blood. And it pulls the negative chemistry out. Follow those procedures with a cold rinse. The cold rinse is not punishment. It's meant just like the Native American jumping into the ice cold creek or lake, or even in Japan, you can go to an onsen and it'll be on the side of the ocean. So that part of the pools with the onsen baths go into ice cold ocean water. Cold is to push the capillary ends of our veins and our arteries. So we get a push through the circulatory system, because for most of us, our circulatory system is slow and sluggish. And so then the movement of everything through our filtering organs and out of the body is slow and sluggish. So that's where the cold blast, when we're hot and all the blood's on the outside of our skin, and then we immerse with a shower or a cold plunge, and all the blood rushes to the inside of our body to protect the blood temperature that keeps the brain working in the core of our body. That push is really beneficial for circulation. And that is important for eliminatory system. Dry brushing is also really helpful. So a loofah or a dry brush where you circularly brush your skin, unlocking the sweat glands and the sebaceous glands so that all the buildup of dead skin and oils and lotions gets cleared out so that when we go into a hot environment, we sweat quicker. It helps with that purging. Also, that dry brushing or a massage for lymphatic drainage. The lymph system is our biological immune system's sewage system, you could say. So after our white blood cells, our T cells all go in and fight viruses, negative bacteria, disease, all of the waste products is picked up by the lymph system, and we have lymph nodes in different areas of our body. They're collected, but that fluid is it's almost like butter. It's very slow moving, and it only gets moved along through to the heart portal and into the intestinal tract through muscle contraction or massage. So stimulating, if you're going for a massage again, not just for pampering, but for biological benefits, ask your masseuse if they do lymphatic drainage. So at the end of your deep tissue massage, you might get 10 minutes of lymphatic massage. It's very light and circular, moving again the lymph nodes and the lymphatic system underneath the skin so that it can move everything out. So that's biotoxins you're removing. Yeah, I kind of like to think that the first thing we can do is avoid or minimize the contact to toxins. The next thing we can do is support our eliminatory system by drinking and eating the right foods so that we can support things to release. And then the next thing we do is purge. So purging means flushing, like through sweat or even a fast could be seen as a subtle purge. And then the last thing we do would be to help the organs themselves that are working so hard. And that's where we might do a longer fast or an organ cleanse, like a spring liver cleanse could be supported by your health professionals, or a colon cleanse, whatever, depending on you and what your lifestyle's like and what your needs are. That's the range. I'm going to pitch the base camp retreats and just make a opportunity for you folks to ask a question about them. But basically this weekend and then 2 more in November and 2 more in December, we're giving a 48-hour chance to reset all 5 aspects of your health. And it's over a weekend. We start on Friday at around 3 in the afternoon in Pacific time, and then we'll do the same one in 2 weeks in Central time. And we go with a 2-hour cooking class, and we're going to cook a dinner and a next day's lunch and dressings and sauces. And we do that Friday night and Saturday night. And that chef of ours is Chef Jillian, who is working completely with Mountain Trek diet, cooking alongside with our nutritionist, Jen. So then while you're learning how to chop and cut and simmer and stir, Jen's also in one of the 3 screens talking about the nutritional benefit of the food you're cooking with. So you're not only getting a cooking class, you're also getting a nutritional class at the same time. We also have 3 yoga classes over the 3 days, 2 morning classes and 1 evening restorative class. And then we have 3 workout classes that all you need is your yoga mat for. High intensity interval training, body momentary muscular failure work, and they're 40-minute workouts so that you're going to get a fat flush in that 40 minutes, as well as momentary muscular failure if you want it. And we maximize the amount of people to 16. So it's still like Mountain Trek's retreat group. It's got that sense of tribe where everybody can see each other and support each other. And then we go hiking. We hike on Saturday for a couple of hours and again on Sunday for a couple of hours. So we give enough time for people to take a lunch, take a little backpack and some water and their camera, and they go out and find a park in their city or drive out of town to a neighboring park and go for a 90-minute fitness hike. So there's outdoor time included in this as well. Added to that, we do some right brain, left brain combination work on goal setting and habit formation. So it's a physical reset, a nutritional reset, as well as working on seeing what areas in our health we want to attend to. And then we'll help set up some habit formation strategies so that at the end of the 3 days, you can continue on for just 3 weeks during this COVID time and have probably the best chance in over 10 years to have a habit happen fast, because you're not traveling, you're not going to the office, you're not working projects. You have a much more stable time period in your life to anchor new actions and have them turned into habits. Right now, you can create a new lifestyle habit in about 21 days. Normally it takes 3 to 6 months. So these health resets are super valuable, highly recommended, because it's so easy during this period with COVID to get stuck in a rut or be too close to the refrigerator, or difficult to find the time to go out and get exercise because it means going to a gym and having to schedule in, spatial requirements. And so here you can do everything from home. Plus, we're not just going to keep you on Zoom the whole weekend. You're going to have to go out and actually get some outdoor exercise, some nature immersion as well. So if you have any further questions about that or interest in it, be sure to shoot a little email to Alex and he'll send you the schedule of when we're offering it in November and December.